Adam, the one and only Eddie on the ice, Eddie in the yard, Eduardo and Encina joining the program today. Is that Baby Yoda in the background too? Money in the Bank?
Yeah, he's on top of the senior Money in the Bank briefcase there.
Oh, you got this. Oh, that's right. You got the senior, the Damian Priest specialty. I like that. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, Jay?
Good, man. Love the hair. You're looking very oozy right now. Feeling good. Amalie Arena today, morning skate was the big takeaway there from the Bolts today.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, everyone was pretty excited about the outdoor game after it being announced yesterday. It's funny. There's actually only 7 guys on this roster that played in that game in Nashville a couple years ago. So not everyone's been a part of it. I actually talked to Luke Glendening today, who has actually been a part of, I believe, 8 outdoor games. Everyone talks about how this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, but Luke Glendening played in 3 outdoor games when he was in Michigan, played in one outdoor game when he was in the AHL in Grand Rapids, and played in 3 in Detroit. Right? So he once in a lifetime experience for him for 8 times. But it was fun talking to him about it. These guys are super excited. I think a lot of them already knew going into yesterday because this thing didn't come together quickly. The reporting of it, I can tell you, didn't come together quickly. It's something that I've been working on for several months now to try to leading up to yesterday. So it's official, said and done. Now we can all look forward to February 1st.
Were you on the beat in Nashville?
Yeah, I was there. Cold night. It was really cool.
That's right. We met up. Didn't we meet up? Because
I don't know. I mean, everyone went out on Broadway afterwards. I think I didn't. I was out with someone. I don't know.
I don't remember what was going on.
Yeah,
it must have been a good time. We can't remember.
I'm trying to think, but I definitely know I went out because I was like, you gotta take advantage of it, right? I mean, I follow a little bit later than most people, but Nashville doesn't close down at 11:30 or 12.
Oh, so. I remember what I did. I actually had one of my buddy's bachelor parties from back home in New York that was there, and they didn't even know that we were there. And I was like, I'm going to go to the bachelor party then. I wasn't even invited.
That's right. You just kind of disappeared.
That's right. I had to go somewhere. And that's why I don't remember the rest of the night. What I do remember is that the Uber was like 1.5 miles, and it was like $58. Thanks, Nashville.
Surge pricing.
How are they going to get this done? Like, what if it's 78 degrees?
Yeah. So from talking to the people in the league about this, and it still kind of sounds insane a little bit, right? But they've done a lot of homework. This is something that's been years, and like I'm sure Rob Higgins will tell you tomorrow, like years in the making, and even going back to 2018, when, like you said, the Tampa Bay Sports Commission does an incredible job of putting on these events here, whether it's hockey, whether it's Super Bowl, WrestleMania, whatever. And they put this thing in the ear of the league then, just kind of saying, hey, they actually put a billboard on the way to the airport that the NHL could see on 275, and was like, thanks for the All-Star game. Next time, let's think outside the box. And it had a picture of Raymond James with an ice rink in it. So that put the the kind of idea in the league. And since then, this thing's been going. I honestly think that if COVID didn't happen, we might be doing this a couple years before now. But I think COVID kind of slowed it down. But the league, the ice people, the operations people, all those people have made multiple visits to Raymond James to test out everything from, certain temperatures, humidity, sunshine, heat, how it's going to affect even to the salinity of the air, because Raymond James is so close to the water there. And basically their focus was how do we control the elements for as long as we can. And obviously come game time, you can't. But up until then, I mean, they're going to build a structure, which is basically a warehouse canopy tented kind of thing. I talked to a lot of people. I've asked them, I was like, what kind of thing can I visualize this being? And what I'm getting a lot of, and I think fans know this, can relate to this, and it's not going to be like this, but this is a comp, but basically something that looks a little bit like the Bucks indoor practice facility there, so like a warehouse with like a canopy kind of roof, stuff like that. And when they tear this thing down, who knows? That's probably the $100 million question, is like, when is it safe to tear this thing down, and what happens if it does rain or something like that in the middle, like 5 minutes in. But so they're going to do that, and obviously build the rink under, inside this climate controlled building or structure, and keep it there. That's not going to require any more, any extra time to build the rink. It usually is a 2-week process before the game that they go in there and install it. And obviously the technology over the years has improved that makes that a little bit easier. But and the league acknowledges that there's still a whole lot of risks to this thing, but I think they are embracing that. And to be honest, the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series events have kind of, we're super excited about it. But I think there's a lot of people in traditional hockey circles that have kind of think that this has kind of become a little tired. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of the reasons why it's coming to Florida right now, is because you can kind of showcase, these non-traditional markets right in the peak of, both of them being really, really good. I think that as much as this is about Tampa, the timing of it right now is also about the Panthers and them coming off a Stanley Cup win, and how the fact that, the past 5 Stanley Cup finals have included a Florida team in it, and the growth of hockey, over the past 3 decades since the NHL came down here. So, but still they know that this is going to be a challenge. And from talking to some people, they're like, this is we want this to be something that people maybe question us whether we're going to be able to do it, but that they're going to be talking about for years to come. And I think it kind of has this almost reality TV feel to it, that we really won't know until we actually see this thing work out, whether it's going to work out. But I think part of that is adding to the curiosity and the excitement of this, is that, I think they've done all their research. I think they have contingency plans, even with scheduling stuff, Bucks playoffs, stuff like that. But, they've done their research. There's all the discussions have happened that need to happen, but still, they're still going to have to pull this off.
The intrigue is there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think the most important question is, are they going to let the media skate on the ice the day before the game, like we've seen in other places?
Did we skate? We didn't get to skate in
we didn't. But that was also around COVID, right?
It was 2022, so it was probably it was the year after. No,
I guess it wasn't COVID.
After COVID.
But
remember we snuck onto, we were right there.
Yeah, you got kicked out. I was the one that didn't get kicked out.
That's right.
See, if you guys don't know, we weren't supposed to go by the ice. And I think it might have been you or somebody took a picture of me right next to the rink. And I was wearing a black jacket, so I kind of looked like an NHL official. And then everybody else was getting kicked out, and I was just like, "Oh yeah."
And then we just kind of strolled down, and then we all had our passes on, and I don't think you did.
I had it under my jacket, so that's why they didn't see it. See,
and
that's
everyone
the thing,
saw us. They're like, "You guys got to go."
I want to see it. There's got to be a text message. There's got to be a text message somewhere of me saying, "Get down here, guys! Come on!"
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad, Ed. I'm glad this is a really good thing to be able to get our community highlighted, and the Lightning playing outside. You're right. The intrigue is a huge part of that entire thing. We'll see how well the team's going to be playing out. That's next year. But tonight, after the win Tuesday night against the Carolina Hurricanes, I've been saying this to everybody that will listen. Carolina's a mirror. They show you how well you're playing, how bad you're playing. You better play honest, because they will beat you. I thought the Lightning played a pretty defensive game. I still don't think they're scoring up to the capacity that we've seen the last couple of months. But what's your assessment of their play as of late, and especially how they were able to turn around that losing streak?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it was a good opponent to play to get out of that funk that they were in, right? Like you said, Carolina, you're going to not get much space on the ice. It's going to be a tight checking game. It's going to be physical. They are an opponent that kind of brings you into the fight and makes you play almost a simpler game, which I think is what these guys really needed to focus on coming off that road trip. I mean, when I look at that trip, I really kind of look at the fact that, they weren't really getting to the middle of the ice. Their opposing defenses were kind of shutting that area around. And because of that, the first line, which they really, depended on a lot, wasn't really getting those chances. And then you combine, I do think they've leaned a lot on the power play again, and, that wasn't getting much there. So, but, I think talking to Cooper today, he was saying that the one thing that he really liked about that game, especially in the sense of how they won it, was one that they bent but didn't break. I mean, you could look at that game and probably the last 12 minutes of it, they were really hemmed in. I think that top line had one shift that they couldn't get the puck out, and it was like almost a 2-minute shift that they were hemmed in. And like I said, they allowed chances, but they didn't break. So that's good defensively. You always want to see, teams survive that. And then, when you pull out 2 points out of that in a tied game, that's great. But also, obviously, the big play of that game was the way Brayden Point scores that goal. And everyone's going to remember the goal and how amazing it was for the move that he made, the way that he was able to get on his stick and put it in the back of the net. But I think Cooper would say that the best part of that play was it was a play where they tried not to do too much. They get the puck deep. Jake Gensel on the far side rims it around. Kucherov comes across and pulls it off the wall and just finds Point and with some space there. So, I think this team, obviously, we've seen it so many times. There's times when they can try to do too much, and they have so much skill, and they are so dynamic with the puck that, sometimes they forget how to get points sometimes, and I think that's what they did out west. And I think Carolina was the perfect opponent for them. And now going into today with Boston, this is a huge stretch for them because they haven't played that many division teams. I think 6 games against division opponents, and we're sitting here at game 41, 42.
Yeah.
And, so they've got to start, piling up points against those teams. And they'll play Boston tonight. They'll play them on Tuesday in Boston. So you've got two matchups with them in a tight amount of span. And in those games against the Atlantic Division teams, they haven't played well. I think they're 1-5-0 against the Atlantic Division teams. You don't like your chances when you're playing that poorly against your division, especially with all these division teams, coming up on the schedule. So this is a big one for them. Again, they'll have 2 shots at Boston. Boston's, I think, 5 games, 5 more games played on them. So they can, you win these games, you can easily, jump them in the standings. And that's the other thing is they are, I think as of a couple of days ago, they were play the fewest games in the Eastern Conference. So
yeah,
you're good.
38. Yep.
Yeah. You're going to catch up, and, you're going to have to, it's one thing to have those games in hand, but it's another thing to get the points when you need them. And this is the time when they need them.
Yeah, people talk about, it's great to have games in hand. No, it's great to win the games that you have.
Exactly.
That's the difference. I love to see that their goal differential is, oh, wait, no, I'm just kidding. That's a joke because everybody used to tell me how important run differential was for the Rays and goal differential.
Right.
They're in 4th place right now, and they have a +33. So I guess that means they're better than the Panthers.
And Boston has like a -24 or something.
They're -24, and Boston's on a 5-game losing streak. So I had my buddy Nick Cattles on yesterday from Boston, and he was just like, there is a sense of apathy right now for the Bruins. But for them, like they're looking at the Lightning, Marchand and Pasternak, they've had success at Amalie Arena. I think they have to have that same kind of mental fortitude that they had against Carolina and play an honest game, or else they're going to wind up on the wrong side because you have McAvoy, you have Swayman, you still have a lot of good players on that team.
For sure.
That's not something that that's not a team I would certainly take lightly. I want to ask you, because I've been asking everybody else about Connor Geekie. I know he's a rookie, right? But he's playing with the big club, and the way that he was able to get up with the big club is that he played with a little bit of a snarl, and I wouldn't say he looks out of place, but I don't see that same guy, and I want to go over to him and to be like, bro, you got this. Just go out there and hit anything that's moving and go dangle and stick handle. Like, the kid's got talent. I think he's doing a good job off of the puck, and I know in essence that might be harder, but I just want to see more from the kid because I think he's the key. He unlocks everything. I think he sets everybody in their lines. What have you seen from Connor Geekie, and do you think that we're going to see, how much growth could we see from him possibly in year 1?
Yeah, I mean, so we got to think one thing. This guy was playing junior hockey this time last year, right?
Yeah,
so,
I'm being way harder on him than everybody else.
Right? No, but it is real because he's 20 years old, and I think he got the benefit of not necessarily thinking many people thought he would make this roster off the bat. I mean, like, I honestly did think he would because I think they kind of needed him a little bit too.
Yes.
And it's shown with how his elevation within the lines has gradually happened. I mean, like, I love that line. I do think that, playing with Cirelli and Hagel probably brings in the best of his two-way game. And again, this is a guy who, at 20 years old was saying, I want to be a guy who's like a Sasha Barkov, not a, Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid. So, he holds that responsible two-way play close to him, which makes that so good on that line. That being said, I do think he defers to those guys too. And I think he's always going to be that no matter where he plays to a certain extent, but probably a little bit more so on that second line with Hagel and Sorelli. But I think also the other thing too that he's dealing with right now is, you're reaching this point in the season where physically you've got to grind. Those schedules that he was playing in juniors, are not the same. So you're trying to get that physical, like especially a guy who wants to play as physically as he can, and who wants to be a guy who can play 18, 20 minutes a game. I think that's where the inherent growth has to be next step for him. It's just kind of, how do you handle, the back-to-backs? How do you handle all these games on the road in January? How do you handle, days when you wake up and even though you're 20 years old, you got to kind of just figure it out how to grind out 20 minutes and help your team win, So, but I don't have concerns at all about him. Like he's a pretty savvy kid. He's all super talented. I think we're gonna be talking about him in a Lightning uniform for years and years and years to come. And he's got kind of a little bit of swagger, and a lot of personality to his game, which is why I like him with Hagel too, because both of those guys are, these guys play Call of Duty on Xbox, and they talk a lot of trash to each other in the lobby all the time, and he takes it and he gives it out. So they're all super competitive.
Do you play with them?
No, I know. I just heard about their chirps about how they it's him, Hagel, Sorelli, and Paul. They all play together. So
what do you play? You have a gamer chair there.
No, well, it's a gamer chair. It's more of a Marvel chair. It's a
Marvel chair.
I'm more of a comic book guy than a gamer guy.
Did you see these bad boys for tonight?
Now, what are those? Are those purple or blue? Or
no, these are blue, buddy. These are blue. Yeah, I would understand the periwinkle, but these are blue. These are like Memphis Tiger blue.
Okay.
Can't wait. Yeah, I know you can't wait, buddy.
Can't wait to see what Phil says.
Did you know that you were in the Recher's Rapid Reaction the other night?
Like cameo?
Yeah, you cameo, because what did I tell you right after Brayden Point scoring the goal? I was like, that's a bad mother. Watch your mouth. Like, it's just, again, going back to that goal.
Yeah.
And again, I said on the reaction video, like, that was probably the worst game I've ever seen Nikita Kucherov play. Like, he couldn't have turned the puck. That's why you can't always trust the stats. It was like one giveaway for Kuch. I'm like, he had 3 in the second period alone. There's no way he only had 1. But that's the great. I mean, it's crazy. You have these elite level athletes, and you know this covering the Lightning. Like, Kuch could make 2 plays that you're just like, oh my God. And then you look at the end of the night and he had 4 points. You're like, how the hell does that happen? Like, usually guys make mistakes and it's like, it screws them up. Kuch had a terrible game the other night, but he has the wherewithal to use. Like, think about it. He's taking the puck on his offside because he's a right winger. People don't give him nearly enough credit with that. With McDavid as a center, McKinnon's a center. He's not a left winger as a left-handed shot. He's a left-handed shot on the right side. So every single time he's getting the puck on the rim around the board, he's taking it on the backhand, getting it to his front hand, or just backhand passing it to people. It's a marvel to watch him do his thing. And when you have Brayden Point and Jake Gensel on the line, like, even if the Lightning don't play all that well, they always have a chance to win if it's a tight game like that because of those guys.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it wasn't the goal itself was like jaw dropping, but the play itself wasn't one that, like, the foundation of it and how it was created. Like you said, again, like you said, Kucherov, there's no better guy I've seen that takes the puck off the wall, especially off that side. He's just amazing how he sees it. And obviously him and Point have such a spider sense about them that basically they know exactly where they're going to be at all times, that they're amazing. And like I said, like, sometimes the main problem with the Lightning is that all that gets in their own way sometimes because they try to do too much with it. But I think that, again, that was a big win. Carolina's no joke, as we know. And now they just got to kind of, build off of that and, start really kind of piling some points.
I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Raw on Netflix, the debut episode Monday night. It's interesting to hear, even just a couple of days later, what people thought of the entire thing. What was your assessment of the of the show? Was it, I thought it was more of like a Raw 25th anniversary type of thing rather than like a WrestleMania, because I thought there was good matches, but it wasn't big surprises, wasn't big returns, wasn't, I think, a lot of like jaw-dropping moments. I just thought it was like a solid B+ show. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. Like, I probably expect a little bit more considering all the hype that went into it. But, yeah, there's a little bit more ceremonial stuff than, necessarily
Right.
I'd want to watch. I think I told you before, like, watching The Rock come out in, like, his, like, lack of kayfabe, and telling Cody Rhodes that, say hi to Mama Rhodes for me. It's like, this guy just busted you open, like, 3 months ago. And, like, you're like, oh, like, you carried the company for the past year and everything like that. So.
I thought he was going to say Roman when he was like, this guy's been carrying the company. I was like, he's going to talk about Roman. And he's like, Cody Rhodes. And I was like, bro, you literally just put his own blood on the belt that you have his mom's name on. That's part of the storyline. Now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, here's a peek behind the curtain. And then you try to like go back and be like, so Mama Rhodes, I said hello. And I was like, no, Rock, this isn't you and Lillian Garcia from the 90s when you were talking about Strudel.
Exactly.
Different. So it was different.
That was a little different because, like, I mean, the great thing that they've been so good at recently, I think you would probably agree with this, is the storytelling, right? And that they've really reinvented what's quote unquote sports entertainment is with the storytelling. And then for you to go like total, like, and that's why we watch it too, right? I mean, like, it's not technical anymore. It's about the story. So, and for them to go, for them to start it with him, after Triple H, just kind of like, being the LA Dwayne Johnson versus being the Rock, that
they were also shills for Netflix too, right? Like I get it, but like them totally shilling out for Netflix and talking about all this stuff, like I get it. Like I think there's a line, right? I don't want to. Nobody wants their intelligence insulted, right? Like so that's why, like when you're trying to not call it pro wrestling, and they're using that vernacular again because they don't want to insult their intelligence. Fine. But I also think, Ed, that there's also another end of the spectrum of like, don't insult our intelligence by stealing the imagination of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't want every peek behind the curtain, right? Like I get it. Like I get it. You don't have to tell me how. I don't want to know how every single sauce is made, right? Like we're suspending our disbelief because we understand that. And if you're sitting there like every single time hitting us over the head with that kind of stuff, I think that in essence insults our intelligence than the other side.
I do think too, one thing that I noticed, and Shannon was watching with me, my wife, and we were noticing this too, is like, I think they got so caught up in doing so many camera angles that they missed a lot. And there was a lot of like, stuff that didn't land, and you could see it pretty visually on camera, where, shots that, are supposed to be, and didn't really land well, so I think they, and like you said, this is all, it's the first time of them doing it like this and everything like that. I'm excited about it. It's going to be cool. I mean, gladly nothing buffered. So I think we're all happy about that. But I like I said, I know you've got to pay the sponsors, and it's a bit, at the end of the day, a lot of this is about the money. Right. But, yeah. So like I said, I give it probably a B- ish maybe.
Yeah. So. It's funny because I actually lost my internet connection like 10 minutes at the end. I thought it was buffering, and I was like, damn it, I made it this far for no reason. But it was just me.
That Cody Paul Tyson fight, man. I was like, I barely got to watch it. Like the scrolling wheel was going at it the whole time. It won in 10 rounds. So
yeah, at least we got to see Tyson's ass cheeks, because that's why everybody wanted to tune into that freaking fight. Who's Shannon's favorite wrestler?
Who's Shannon's favorite wrestler?
Is she Roman fan?
Wow, that's a good question. See, I think she's just grown on her in general because I've been, so into it. But
yeah, Steph can't watch it. She tried. She'll watch any other game, the wrestling thing. She's like, nah, I'm out of here. See ya. Who's your favorite guy right now? Who's the one person? Like, if I tell you you're gonna miss Monday Night Raw tonight, but you're only gonna see one segment, what one person is on there?
Oh, geez. Wow.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. You know what? No one's going to say this, but what they've done with Drew,
Yeah.
has been great.
Yeah.
And there's been times when I thought it's gotten a little old and stuff like that, but like, you know, and you know, the whole narrative of like him coming after the guys he's wronged them and stuff like that, like, you know, the thing is, you never know when he's going to show up, right? I mean, it's like KO, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me get into that because I like that. I brought this up with our guy David Shealy a couple weeks ago. I'm bringing it up again now. They need to put Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins together in a group.
That would
do
be
it now.
Incredible.
Go up. Listen, I don't think any of those guys, because Seth is not going to wrestle CM Punk at WrestleMania now that they just did on Netflix. You just did that. You're not going to do it again. What are those three guys going to do in WrestleMania? I don't know, but they've also wrestled a bunch of big time, high profile matches. If they go on an absolute tear over the next couple of months and wrestle a big 3-on-3 match that is just a freaking shit show, and it's almost like how Legacy and Evolution and The Rock and Mankind, that type of thing, I think that's what they should do. I know some people online are like, oh, make them the new NWO. They don't need to be the NWO, but I think they need some consistency where you get them a shirt, you give them a really good name that you can make an anagram out of it, 3-letter type of, it doesn't even have 3-letter, but something, right? It could be BA, the badasses, or the AK, ass kickers, something like that. But all three of those guys together as full-blown heels, full-blown, I can't believe that we fought against CM Punk and Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and these guys either left you or they've ruined everybody's life. What the hell is the wrong with all of you people?
Right.
I think those three guys together could be an absolute force. Just let them kick everybody's ass.
Jay, you know that they always have writer openings at WWE.
I know. I think that's where I'm missing my calling. Maybe I should just go work for the WWE. What are you going to do with your career now that you're not at iHeart anymore? I'm going to go to WWE. Yeah, why not? Why the hell not, right? Never know. How we do it. All right.
Then you get me free tickets everywhere.
That's the end of the show right there. Eddie in the yard. Of course, man. I'll get you free tickets. It's so funny. Like, we were talking about the Royal Rumble because I was there standing. What did you do for the Royal Rumble?
I was behind the dugout. So I was behind the home dugout.
You went as a fan. You went as a fan? Yeah, I went as a media member, and they were like, you can either go up in the baseball press box or you can stand by the hard cameras. So for 4 hours, I just stood there, and I just stood there like this. And I was like, oh, that's great. And I saw all the people walking by. Like, it was pretty cool. But I also stood in one place for 4 hours. But yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up, see what are those job openings on Indeed?
I don't know. I actually saw one recently. I'm not looking for a job, but just
send them over to me. They're like, sir, can you write? I can write my name in script. I know cursive. Maybe that's what's gonna work out for me. Eddie Encina, Eduardo N. Encina, Eddie in the yard, Eddie on the ice. Appreciate you, my brother. I'll see you tonight at Emily.
All right, Jay. See you later on.
All right, pal.